welcome. Tonight, Senate confirms 3 more of the 10 nominees sent by the president as resident electoral commissioners, despite protests by the PDP and civil society organizations claiming that at least 2 of the appointees are partisan. National Assembly passes 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget, moves budgetary provision for a presidential yacht to the students' loan. Presidency says vote is for the Navy and not for the president. And with 9 days to the off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa states, the president calls for a free and fair process, hands flags to APC candidates in the polls.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's central bank allays fears over reported scarcity of cash in some parts of the country, assures public of sufficient currency supply.
On sports news tonight, Rugby World Cup champions, the Springboks, receives a roaring welcome in Soweto as they pass through the Johannesburg township, where they were once hated, for a homecoming tour of South Africa.
And from Abuja, Minister of Interior canvasses increased intelligence and planning as part of measures to ensure safe schools across the country.
And in international news from London, Gaza has witnessed more fierce fighting, with a live feed capturing sounds of explosions and bright flames on the horizon.
We start from the National Assembly, where the Senate today confirmed 3 more of the 10 nominees sent to them by the president as INEC resident electoral commissioners. The Senate confirmed the nominees despite calls by civil society organizations and the People's Democratic Party for the lawmakers to reject some of the nominees whom they claim are aligned to a political party. However, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Publicity, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, maintains that the Senate did not receive any petition against any of the nominees. Our Senate correspondent, Gloria Muzuke, reports.
The Senate reconvenes to continue the screening of presidential nominees as resident electoral commissioners. In a committee of the whole, the Senate screens the nominees from Lagos, Rivers and Zamfara states, questioning them on various aspects of election management and subsequently asking them to take a bow and leave.
The Senate approved the nominations as follows. Dr. Bumi Omeshindem for Lagos State, Dr. Onubum Onoha from Rivers State, Mr. Abubakar Fawa Dambo from Zamfara State, as resident electoral commissioners Rex. For the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC, those in favor of the confirmation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
7 nominees were earlier screened by the Senate, bringing the total number of confirmations to 10. The nominations were, however, greeted with controversy by some members of the civil society organizations, criticizing at least 2 of the nominees.
These are individuals who are really out there in public, who have professed their political preference and alignment. And we've been screaming and shouting and advocating and telling our politicians that there is grave danger when INEC is populated by politicians.
The People's Democratic Party particularly condemned the appointment of Mr. Etekamba Omoren from Akwa Ibom State and Mr. Issa Ehimiane from Edo State, describing it as provocative.
The PDP, therefore, in clear and unequivocal terms, reject the imposition of Etekamba Omoren as INEC rep in Akwa Ibom State, being conceived in iniquity and in a flagrant violation of the express provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and the universal demand of impartiality and non-partisanship of an electoral body and its officials.
However, the Senate says there is a leeway for a review if any petition is presented.
No Nigerian is wrong for calling for either a recall or upholding of whoever that is screened, because everybody has right either to complain, either to pass comment, either to ask questions, but it has to be properly done.
So you did not receive any petition?
No. If prior to the appearance of these nominees before the Senate, there have been petitions, there have been security reports suggesting that they could be compromised, or suggesting that they are not fit because they are going to handle electoral matters. Definitely they should not have political parties that they belong to. Then definitely the Senate will look into it. But the afterthought criticisms, the afterthought reasons why we should not do this and why we should not do that, does not arise because these names were just in public domain. So it's not for us, it's not for me, or it's not for anybody to suggest that you are likely to be a member of a party. It's not for me, it's not for anybody to do. But whoever has the fact is supposed to bring the fact before the Senate.
He also explains why the recs were not screened at the committee level.
We want to do it openly so that Nigerians will see them and then they will talk before Nigerians and then everybody.
He firmly assures that when a petition is officially presented, the lawmakers will accord them paramount consideration. From the Senate, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has passed the 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget. However, the chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations says the budgetary provision for the presidential yacht has been moved to the students' loan. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is urging President Bola Tinubu to call political parties in Bayelsa to order ahead of the November 11 governorship election, following insightful comments allegedly made by the deputy governorship candidate of the APC in the state. Our correspondent Terry Kumi has more.
After speedy consideration and budget defense of the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Bill received from President Bola Tinubu, both chambers of the National Assembly dedicate the final plenary of the week to its passage. The 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget passes overwhelmingly in both chambers. While the supplementary budget sent to the National Assembly by the President proposed 5 billion naira to purchase a presidential yacht under the capital expenditure of the Nigerian Navy's budget, the House Committee Chairman on Appropriations says it has been removed and reallocated.
Student loan was 5 billion naira in the budget, but now we have increased it from 5 to 10 billion so that our students can be able to access that facility in order for them to go to school and to be affordable for them. This is what it is actually.
So no more what?
We don't have that yet anymore.
He further explains some other adjustments made to the budget.
Police formation and command will give them 50 billion, while the FCT, they have about 100 billion naira. You know, FCT is very important because we want to make sure FCT can compete with any city in the world. While Office of the National Security, we know how important that office is. Initially, their initial budget was 27 billion, but currently we have increased their budget to 50 billion naira. You know, we have a serious housing deficit in this country, and the Mr. President agenda, he wants to build as much as he can. So we have approved 100 billion naira for Ministry of Housing, and that's what he actually did.
Meanwhile, back in the chamber, the House reacts to possible incitement and threats to security ahead of the Bayelsa governorship election, following a viral video of the deputy governorship candidate of the APC inciting violence.
The House resolves to urge His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to call all party candidates to order before the election. Urge the Inspector General of Police and the National Security Advisor to caution the parties and cause the extraction of undertakings from all party candidates that will guarantee peace in Tuambras and Bayelsa State and a violent-free election on 11th November 2023.
In the meantime, following the statement of the Chief of Army Staff expressing worry over classified documents ending up in the public space, the House of Representatives is calling for forensic storage of security information. The House, through a motion by Honorable Stanley Olajide, decries the leakage of security information, which it fears is affecting the fight against insecurity in the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Some clarifications are coming from the presidency regarding the presidential yacht captured in the 2023 supplementary appropriation submitted to the National Assembly. The presidency says the yacht is an operational naval boat with specialized security gadgets and is not for the president's use. In a statement signed by the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the presidency explains that the naval boat was ordered under the previous administration and the request for the vessel was submitted by the Office of the Chief of Naval Staff to the Ministry of Defense. The total amount requested was over 200 billion naira, out of which 62 billion naira was approved by the president. According to the statement, the federal government is investing more resources to enhance greater economic output from the nation's oil and gas, marine and blue economy. Well, staying with the National Assembly, the Senate has administered the oath of office on Mrs. Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan as the first female senator from Kogi State, representing Kogi Central Senatorial District in the 10th Senate. The administration of oath of office by the clerk of the Senate, Mr. Chinedu Akabueze, on Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan comes after she was declared winner of the February 26th Kogi Central Senatorial election by the Appeal Court.
I, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan,
do solemnly swear
that
I will be faithful
and
bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that as a member of the Senate, I will perform my functions honestly.
I will perform my functions honestly.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Faithfully in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Faithfully in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And the law.
And the law.
And the rules of the Senate.
And the rules of the Senate.
And that I will preserve.
And that I will preserve.
Protect.
And
defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And that I will abide by the Code of Conduct.
And that I will abide by the Code of Conduct.
Contained in the 5th schedule.
Contained in the 5th schedule.
Of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And away from the National Assembly, with the off-cycle governorship elections just 9 days away, the president has asked party members to work towards free and fair elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states. President Bola Tinubu gave this charge after handing party flags to the candidates of the All Progressives Congress for the elections at a ceremony at the presidential villa. Our correspondent Larry Lasisi reports.
The leadership of the All Progressive Congress, ministers, candidates of the party in the forthcoming elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states and their supporters gather at the banquet hall of the presidential villa. This is the first time President Bola Tinubu will be meeting with all the party candidates for the election, which is about 9 days away. The president made it clear that he wants a free and fair process and challenged members to work hard for the party's victory.
We are all taking the crusade for democracy, in particular in this time of season election. And it is our hope, among you is a hope. So, we believe you always come victorious. I pray God Almighty to be with you.
The president then proceeds to hand each of the candidates the party's flag.
And fair election, mobilize well to peace and stability of the country in your heart and in your leadership. We believe, and we believe you will do well.
The candidates are confident of victory in the exercise while speaking about peculiar situations on ground in their states.
challenge any Imo State civil servant to come up to say that between 2020 January 15th date that he did not receive salary in any of the months. What has happened is this ugly coincidence that the national president of the Nigerian Labour Congress is from Imo State and has not been able to demarcate the difference between being a national leader of an organization and then an interested party in local politics.
They have come with the same strategy, going through the courts, but I can assure you that we are going to win and we are going to keep the victory this time.
APC in Kogi State doesn't have any opposition. They are no match.
The candidates are confident going into the election on the strength of the prayers from the president. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, more on the off-cycle election in Kogi State. Plus, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike opens up more on the political crisis in Rivers, says he is uninterested in the state's governance but concerned about the PDP political structure. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. And as you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television Lagos, a reminder of our top stories. Senate confirms 3 more of the 10 nominees sent by the president as resident electoral commissioners, despite protests by PDP and civil society organizations claiming that at least 2 of the appointees are partisan. National Assembly passes 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget, moves budgetary provision for a presidential yacht to the students' loan. Presidency says vote is for the Navy and not for the president. With 9 days to the off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa states, the president calls for free and fair process, hands flags to APC candidates in the polls. And Gaza witnesses more fierce fighting, with a live feed capturing sounds of explosions and bright flames on the horizon. To legal matters now, the Court of Appeal Abuja has affirmed the victory of the Chairman, Senate Committee on Customs, Jibrin Issa, and set aside the judgment of the Election Tribunal. Delivering judgment, the Appellate Court held that the witness on which the tribunal relied its judgment on was incomplete. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had declared Issa of the All Progressives Congress as winner of the Kogi East Senatorial District election, but the candidate of the People's Democratic Party who came second in the election, Mr. Victor Adoji, challenged the return of Issa at the tribunal. In a unanimous judgment, the tribunal ordered a rerun in 94 polling units where there were irregularities during the general election. And not pleased with the judgment, Mr. Issa filed an appeal against the decision of the lower court. To politics in Kogi State, the candidate of the African Democratic Congress in the November 11th, 2023 governorship election in Kogi State, Mr. Leke Abejide, is promising to ensure politics of inclusivity if the party is voted into office. Mr. Abejide stated this in Lokoja at a meeting with coordinators and chairmen of the party from the 21 local government areas of the state. He gave the assurance that those who are prepared to work for the victory of the party will be accorded their rightful place in his administration.
Then you know there is something.
The candidate of the African Democratic Congress and his deputy take time off the campaign trail to meet with coordinators of the party from the 21 local government areas of the state.
The performance was not that what we expected.
Mr. Abejide says he is determined to clinch the governorship seat in Kogi State so that the electorate can be involved in the governance process.
I've said it that I would like to know the coordinators, the chairmen of the local government, the women leaders, youth leaders, and the secretary. Because these are the engine rooms for this election. And when we get to power too, they will be at the forefront in the local government.
The candidates harps on the need for members of the party to work assiduously for their victory come November 2023.
If we can work harder and get local governments like Ibaji, like Basa, Olama Boro, Ofu, Amala is looking good, Ampa is looking good. Even the Kenya now has come up, and it may, after my meeting tomorrow, I will know that it has come alive finally. There are some candidates discussing with me, so I pray everything work out for good. So they are working hard also to see that the West get it this time. And when you say West, I'm the West, not the other person.
After some brainstorming session, the coordinator of the party in Dekina local government makes a promise on behalf of other coordinators.
What is there is that we are on ground. And those who are coming should not discriminate us. They should not come and play any foul play. Because I was sad in the last project, but I have to put everything behind me. I'm a grassroots politician, and his own younger brother knows me very well. So we'll work hard and deliver the Kina local government for you.
As the governorship campaign gathers momentum, the coordinators are optimistic of victory at the polls.
Don't look me as a small boy.
Well, we head to Abuja studios, where I believe Victor Matthias has more from Kogi and other stories. Victor?
Hello, Millicent. Indeed, a lot more from Kogi with, of course, now the state governorship candidate of the PDP, Mr. Dino Melaye, who is calling on security agencies for adequate deployment of security and safety of lives for the conduct of the off-cycle governorship elections in the state. Now, Mr. Melaye made the call during a visit to families that lost loved ones during the 2019 governorship elections at Hausa Street in Lokoja, the state capital. The PDP candidate appeals to state governments to ensure that the elections are conducted under a conducive environment.
During the last violent general elections, we will recall that some people were in their own houses when bullets was dropping from a helicopter to hit them on their bed. The one that happened at the Apostolic Church here, the child was even in Ajara, was on the bed. The bullet penetrated through the ceiling and hit the person on the bed. Should please eschew violence in this upcoming election, and that we call on the state government not to allow this type of dastardly act to repeat itself again. May the Almighty God grant us peace in our state. May we have a violence-free election. May it be one man, one vote.
And amidst the political crisis in Rivers State, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says he is uninterested in the state's governance, but rather the political structure of the People's Democratic Party that seems to be threatened. The FCT minister stated this during a courtesy visit by the Rivers State caucus in the National Assembly to his office in Abuja against the backdrop of the political feud between him and Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
I'm not interested in the governance of Rivers State. I'm not interested. I'm here sitting as a governor. All the functions I have. But I'm interested in the political structure of Rivers State, which we have built for years. If anybody dares to begin to bring it down, the person will face the crisis he wants in his life. Yes. I'm not interested in 25%, for the say 5 million issue. I mean, all this kind of petty. Impeachment is not rally. Impeachment is about law and what? Facts. It's not about threats. You blow the oil pipeline. When there was no impeachment, have you not been blowing down? Okay, are you the only one who can bring down oil pipeline? Is there anybody who has a monopoly?
No.
You are telling people that all you are interested in fomenting trouble and crime. Govern and govern well, but don't touch our political structure. Anybody who puts his hand in our structure, anything you see, you take. That's all. So we can't have a political structure that made you. Then you want to destroy that structure. Who will allow it?
Now still to come on the news at 10, Central Bank of Nigeria allays fears over reported scarcity of cash in some parts of the country, gives assurance of sufficient currency in its stock. That's some business news. Do join us again. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, when it comes to ensuring schools in Nigeria are kept safe, intelligence is crucial to ensure precise planning and direct actions. These were the words of the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, at the National Summit on Safe Schools held in Abuja. The summit, hosted by the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, found that based on the indices available, Nigerian children in schools across the country are still very vulnerable to attacks.
Attacks on schools by terrorists, bandits and kidnappers are unfortunately a common trend in Nigeria. According to the NSCDC, 1,892 persons have been trained by the National Safe Schools Response Coordination Center in the last 8 months. The National Safe Schools Response Coordination Center has foiled no fewer than 48 attacks on schools in states including Zamfara and Nasarawa. Meanwhile, according to Save the Children NGO, over 1,000 students were abducted from Nigerian schools in 2021 alone, putting Nigeria in the same category as the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Mali, Libya, Syria, and Yemen as countries with education systems that are at extreme risk. These facts are not lost on the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, charged constitutionally with ensuring schools in Nigeria are safe. Its Commandant General lays down the vulnerability of schools in Nigeria and the plans of the Corps to tackle them.
Out of 81,000 schools, then, that was as 2021, registered schools, only 22,000 were having security fencing, perimeter fencing. Made us to conclude that yes, our children are really very, very vulnerable, sir.
For the Minister of Interior, the status quo is unacceptable. He advocates for intelligence-based collaborations to tackle the menace of unsafe schools, reassuring development partners at this summit that the mistakes of the past will not be repeated.
Yes, there are some critical infrastructure like fences that we need to build, but we must now invest in intelligence and let the security of our schools be more proactive than reactive.
Nigeria does not lack initiatives, and we heard that from the Minister of Interior today. At the time safe schools were initiated in Nigeria, the idea was to ensure that people who were in terror-prone parts of the country still got a proper education. Many years down the line, school attacks are still rampant across the country. He has promised that he will deliver on safe schools in Nigeria. From the Nigerian Air Force Center in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
And that's it from the nation's capital, but the news at 10 continues with Millicent in Lagos. Millicent?
Thank you, Victor. To rail infrastructure development in Lagos, where Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has promised that the test drive for the Red Line Rail will commence before the end of this year. According to him, the contract for the second phase of the Blue Line Rail, which stretches from Mile 2 to Okokomaiko, has been signed and is expected to be completed in 3 years. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this during the inauguration of the flyover designed to separate vehicular movement from the Red Line rail track at the Yaba intersection.
A number of flyovers are being constructed by the Lagos State government to separate vehicular and train traffic without interruptions at designated intersections on the Red Line route. One of them is the Yaba overpass, which has been completed and is ready for use, a landmark project kicked off by Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu 4 years ago. The governor is here to inaugurate the infrastructure. The managing director of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, who is in charge of all rail projects in the state, says a total of 10 bridges have been mapped out for the Red Line corridor.
The other bridges that are part of this package are the Penn Cinema Bridge, which is already completed and in use. The remaining 4 bridges are Oyingbo, Mushin, Ikeja. The Federal Ministry also agreed that they would construct 5 bridges: Nathan Koka around Fagba off Iju Road, Ashade Market, which has been completed and already in use, Shogunle, Ilupeju Bypass, and Fadei.
While the construction lasted, the project brought some form of hardship to motorists and traders in this axis.
You have just given the people of Yaba LCDA their very own T-bone steak, tastefully structured and constructed by world-class building and construction professionals. And of course, thanks to you, the Yaba that I knew more than 3 decades ago is wearing a seemingly different look. We say thank you.
Achieving intermodal transportation is the goal of the state government, and the Commissioner for Transportation asks the people to utilize all available transport options.
The Lagos Rail Mass Transit Red Line train station across the road will be connected to the Yaba bus terminal, thus making it possible for each mode to feed each other with passengers.
Governor Sanwo-Olu brings a message he has brought many times before, that traders must stop selling along the rail track.
Before the end of this year, I want to assure you that we will begin our testing on the Red Line. The infrastructure, the construction are well over 90%. In fact, some of them have indeed been completed. The steps, the ramps, the sidewalks, the overpass are not marketplaces. They are for pedestrian movement and for vehicular movement. And therefore I want to use this opportunity to also sound a last warning to people that are trading on the rail tracks. The rail tracks are not marketplaces, and we will be walling off all pedestrian movement along the rail tracks. The Red Line, the Yaba Overpass Bridge, commissioned to the glory of God and to the benefit of mankind.
A height requirement of 7.7 meters was adopted as the minimum headroom above the rail tracks to accommodate potential future modifications considered safe for transportation in the Lagos metropolis.
And the message of the 22nd WIMBIZ annual conference was hinged on the need for women to thrive and pursue excellence in diverse spheres of influence. This year's edition, with the theme Mission Impossible Thrive, provided a platform for women leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs to come together, share experiences, and inspire one another.
To bring up the distinguished
The 22nd Women in Management, Business and Public Service WIMBIZ conference at the Eco Hotel and Suites in Lagos is a gathering of accomplished women leaders, professionals and entrepreneurs. With the theme Mission Impossible Thrive, the conference centers around women empowerment, resilience and the pursuit of excellence in diverse spheres of influence.
As this 22nd annual WIMBIZ conference takes off today, it is my earnest hope that the next 48 hours will enable you to connect the dots between I am and self-realization, an acknowledgement that to thrive, you must jumpstart your mission, I am possible. This is your opportunity to shape your own life. Seize it.
The problem is the narrative. It's taking control of our own destiny and making sure we talk about it and we push it out there and not be afraid. I don't believe in the glass ceiling. As a matter of fact, I think the term should be scrapped. There isn't a ceiling. We've just got to go. We've got to do what we need to do. But you know, it's not tomorrow. It's not when I'm more comfortable. It's not after I have my children. It's not after my children grow up. It's now. The opportunity of a lifetime can only be realized in the lifetime of that opportunity.
The 2023 WIMBIZ Conference boasts an impressive lineup of speakers, including accomplished women leaders from various industries, whose insights in achieving personal and professional fulfillment resonate strongly with the attendees. The diverse range of topics covered provides something for everyone, from budding entrepreneurs to seasoned professionals.
It even started by me sharing the idea I want to be a pilot, and my uncle said, "Excuse me, that's not a woman's job." So, of course, yes. So I first went to have a degree in Unilori computer science, but I never stopped dreaming. And then, of course, in flying school, the only reason why we were sponsored then was because there were no female representation. And so government was trying to, the Women Affairs made a push for female pilots.
To help me with imposter syndrome, I've had to school myself, because insecurity, like you have already said, is a male-dominated world. So I walk in, I'm a woman, and I have to make presentation to people, and who am I competing with? With other men. So I must know what I'm talking about.
The boss, decision maker, they are all men. Then maybe it defies this is male-dominated. So if this is the case, then I shall see, okay, then I will, yes, I deal with most of my staff. From mechanic side, they are the men. But from management side, and from the administrative side, I recruit a lot of ladies.
It's a vibrant atmosphere of collaboration and knowledge exchange, and for the organizers, the resounding message is clear.
With all this discouragement, it is important for us to remind women that they carry a seed inside them that needs to still be activated for greatness. And so just thinking of the fact that mission, who is that mission? I am that mission, and I am still possible, and I must strive. To me, that makes the 22nd WIMBIZ Annual Conference worthwhile.
The 22nd WIMBIZ Conference is a testament to the power of collective empowerment and highlights the potential for women to not only succeed, but to thrive in their respective fields. It's now time for business news. Here's Joke Rogers.
Thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. Now, if you're worried about yet another cash crunch, don't be, is a reassurance coming from the Central Bank of Nigeria, which confirmed earlier today that it has sufficient stock of naira in cash to meet the demands of Nigerians. The financial market regulator was reacting to concerns raised by customers in different parts of the country, alleging scarcity of cash in some banking halls, automated teller machines, bureau de change offices, and other vendors. According to the Apex Bank, the seeming scarcity in some locations was due largely to high volume of withdrawals from CBN branches by deposit money banks and other panic withdrawals by customers. It said the concerns may be connected to the December 31st deadline for the validity of the old higher denomination naira notes, which are still currently in circulation in large amounts. To some company news, listed telecoms giant MTN Nigeria PLC is set to issue up to 52.8 billion Series 8 and 9 commercial papers under its 250 billion naira issuance program. In a notice sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange Limited, the company's CP issuance, which is a viable option to bank loans, is aimed at raising 100 billion naira to meet its short-term working capital and financing requirements. The telecoms company has completed its Series 6 and 7 commercial paper issuance, which was oversubscribed by 146%. More company news now reports British oil giant Shell saw $6.2 billion in profit for the third quarter of this year as the company benefited from higher oil prices and refining margins. Profit was higher than the $5.1 billion recorded in the second quarter, but marked a sharp decline from the $9.45 billion reported a year ago when the Russia invasion was bolstered oil and gas prices. The company also announced a $3.5 billion share buyback to be carried out over the next 3 months. And from there, we head to the domestic stock market, which recorded its first decline in November after starting off the month with a record high. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, after the NGX All-Share Index crossed the 70,000 point level for the first time, we have the first pullback today. All-Share Index there, 0.76% down. 70,000, still holding that level at this point by a hair's breadth. Market cap, 38 trillion maintained. Let's look at the sectoral performance now. We'll see, profit taking on the Fugas and some Tier 2 banks pulled the banking counter down today. We'll see it's down 0.85%. Oil and gas remains unchanged, and the consumer goods counter are down 0.19%. Let's go to the top trades now. See Japan Gold emerged as the most actively traded stock with 92 million units of shares worth 124 million naira traded. Top in the counter there. Fidelity Bank, 67 million, while UBA holds on third, 46 million. So there we have it. Second trading day of the month of November, and the local boss remains in the 70K level. Maybe this might be a November to remember for investors in the equities market. That's how your money performed today. I'm Laddie Williams.
That's business news on the news at 10. Millicent, back to you.
Thank you, Joker. And the United Nations says 4 of its schools in Gaza used as shelters have been damaged, with more than 20 feared dead in less than 24 hours. Here's Salon P with other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Gaza has witnessed more fierce fighting, with a live feed capturing sounds of explosions and bright flames on the horizon. Israel has been bombing Gaza since the 7th of October, when Hamas attacks killed 1,400 people, with 239 people kidnapped as hostages. The Israeli military says it's killed dozens of Hamas fighters, having earlier said its troops had broken through the group's defensive lines. But thousands of innocent people are suffering in the retaliatory strikes. The Hamas-run health ministry says up to 1,000 people had earlier been killed, injured or missing after Israeli strikes in a refugee camp at Jabalia. Meanwhile, people are continuing to crowd at the gates bordering Egypt as more foreigners prepare to leave. A diplomatic source said some 7,500 foreign passport holders would leave Gaza over the next 2 weeks.
20 Australians, plus 2 family members and a permanent resident, were able to cross the border at Rafah, out of Gaza into Egypt. When Israel's friends urge Israel to exercise restraint, when Israel's friends urge Israel to protect civilian lives, it is critical that Israel listens. It matters for Israel's own security, which faces grave risks if the conflict spreads.
An Australian woman has been charged with murder over the suspected mushroom poisoning deaths of 3 people. Erin Patterson was arrested on Thursday morning, and police have spent the day searching her home east of Melbourne. The 49-year-old had served the family lunch, after which the trio, who included her former in-laws, fell ill. A 4th person survived. Toxicology reports suggest the victims consumed death cap mushrooms. Ms Patterson maintains she is innocent.
Homicide Squad investigators have previously interviewed this woman in relation to an incident that occurred on the 29th of July where 4 people fell ill following taking part in a meal at a private residence there in Leongatha. 3 of those people, Heather Wilkinson, Gail Patterson and Don Patterson, unfortunately passed away in hospital following taking part in that meal.
National flags have flown at half-mast across China as the country put its former premier Li Keqiang to rest. Chinese President Xi Jinping and his wife paid their final respects to the former Premier Li at a Beijing cemetery where high-ranking officials and national heroes are laid to rest. Flags across the country were flown at half-mast, but there was muted state coverage of his funeral, in stark contrast to the outpouring of sorrow among ordinary Chinese people. He was once tipped to be China's future leader, but he was overtaken and then swiftly sidelined by Xi Jinping, who has centralised power in his own hands during his more than 10 years at the helm. A lorry driver has been killed in France after coastal regions of northern Europe were hit by gale force winds of 128 miles per hour. Storm Ciarán made landfall in Brittany and Normandy in France and southern England. Hundreds of schools have closed across the UK and train lines have been disrupted. There are currently 7,000 homes without power in Cornwall. And the largest internally flawless fancy vivid blue diamond ever put up for auction could sell for up to $50 million. Known as Blue Royale, this vivid blue diamond, which is set in a ring, is among the rarest ever to be unearthed. The auctioneer will also be presenting a Rolex wristwatch worn by Marlon Brando in the 1979 movie Apocalypse Now, on the back of which the actor engraved his signature to avoid having it swapped accidentally during shooting.
What makes Bleu Royale so rare and special is its size. At 17.6 carats, it's the largest of its kind. It's a pear-shaped, brilliant cut diamond. What that means is it's a classical cut. It has not been modified with additional facets to help enhance the color. And so the color is very rich naturally, and it is internally flawless as best as can be.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Lobby Stars of Makurdi beat Rangers International 2-1 in match day 6 of the Nigeria Premier Football League played in Lafia earlier this evening. Dambani Alao got the opener in the 23rd minute. Chidiebere Nwobodo leveled the score in the 61st minute of the second half. The equalizer only lasted 15 minutes before Stanley Ogabo got the winning goal for the host. Then thousands of people gave the World Cup winning Springboks a roaring welcome in Soweto earlier today as they passed through the Johannesburg township where they were once hated for a homecoming tour steeped in symbolism. The team bus made its way to Villa Casa Street where Nobel laureate Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu once lived. The team began its victory tour earlier in the day in Pretoria where the country's president Cyril Ramaphosa hailed the players for uniting a country with a divided past. That's it on sports. Back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Senate today confirmed 3 more of the 10 nominees sent by President Bola Tinubu as resident electoral commissioners, despite protests by the PDP and civil society organizations, claiming that at least 2 of the appointees are partisan. The National Assembly has passed 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget as budgetary provision for a presidential yacht, which was moved to the Students' Loan Fund. Meanwhile, the presidency said the boat in question is for the Navy and not for the president. And that's your news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.